This Defensive Tactics DVD is nothing but techniques. It's about the point of contact between you and a would-be attacker. We always teach, run away, break contact, be aware, observe. But in the event that you can't do that, you get forced into the fight response. These techniques are simple to apply and easily done under great pressure. Talk, walk, block, and fight. These 4 steps can help you to break contact. If you take the steps from the beginning to the end and you say talk and walk, you can actually flip those two. If you have a confrontation right here, and I'm in my posture of kind of like really not interested, just dialoguing, but again, I'm protecting myself, I have the ability to talk to him and engage him, but I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend you walk away, especially if it's a hostile environment, because the quicker you create space and leave the area, the more likely you are to be unharmed and to get away safely. If he grabs you or there's dialogue and you have to go to the next step, that's when you can verbalize stop, get away, I don't want any. You start making movements and room away from the threat. And you also put your hands up in this posture right here, which is a sign, a universal sign for stop, not interested. And it also allows you at this point in time to begin to block in the technique we talked about as stress increases, performance decreases. And the block can be either way. Tight to the body, 45-degree angles. This is how we block. Once we get past all of that, we get into, unfortunately, the fight. Now, we're not here today to debate how that happened. We're not here to talk about all the dynamics that could prevent that completely. We've given you the color code of mental awareness. We hope you're in the color yellow, which is aware. And if you're aware, your plan in orange can be to get away. If you end up in a corner, a wall between 2 cars, or in your bedroom, you might have to go to the 4th step, which is the actual fight. Fight is red in the color code of mental awareness. It's being ready for it, it's being ready to go into it, and it's having the combat mindset, which is I will prevail, I will win, I will dominate this no matter what. I have talked, I have walked, I have blocked, I've done everything I can, I've moved, and now you've decided to enter my space. It is time to destroy you to the point where I can now still get away. The anatomy of a fight. We've talked, we've walked, we've walked and we've talked. We've blocked if we needed to. We've moved away. Now they're in our space. We have to deal with them. In the blocking techniques or the casual techniques, it's where we're able to, at that point in time, as you'll see in a minute, manipulate the space in the closet that we're fighting in. The closet's not a real definition of a real location. It's actually just the space that's around your body that you have to defend from the attack. It's what you're going to use to gain dominance. But in the anatomy of an attack, let's look at the thought processes that might be going on in the bad guy. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I think it's very important that you understand that they are not here where you are. They are in a place that wants what you have. They have little to no respect for you, your health, your well-being, or your property. And because of that, you want to make yourself break that area they're in. You want to get away. You do not want to be where they're at. The longer you are on target, it's called time on target in our world, the more likely you are to be in trouble, because bad guys have friends. And friends come together and you end up in the curb getting kicked into the ground, and you just don't want to be here. So when we talk about the anatomy of a fight, we're looking at always trying to break contact. Always. Not standing in the subterranean parking lot and fighting 3 guys because we can. The risks are too high. One of the very first things I'd like to try to ingrain in your head is that if you decide to fight, you have to fight, which in this scenario you do, you still have about a 50-50 chance of prevailing unless you use what we call force multipliers. We're going to talk about those force multipliers on this DVD. What are they? In the first DVD we talked about in Volume 1, principles, center of balance, joint manipulation. All these different principles are force multipliers. Now, as a bad guy decides to make you the target, how do they do that? And why do they do that? First, they're looking at your property. Perhaps if you're a female, they're looking at what they want. Perhaps they're trying to become a gang member and they have to earn the right, which means they have to kill, hurt, or harm somebody who's maybe not of their ethnicity or doesn't not wear the same colors that they wear. As it relates to us, it really doesn't matter what their motive is. What matters is that we identify it and we deal with it enough so that we can get away. 3 things that we look at very, very critically when we move throughout the terrain in a parking lot or in our homes, outside of our homes, or in a public setting. And the first thing we look at is, what is somebody doing with their hands? Where are their hands at all times? Because the eyes can't kill you. The hands can hurt you. They can grab you, they can take you, they can manipulate weapons, and that is what we have to look for, hands. Hands being exposed is not necessarily safety. Hands in the pocket is not necessarily safety, but it does give you more time to react because they have to pull them out of their pockets. They also might have their hands in their pockets. They might have a weapon. So we have to be aware of this and potential consequences related to hands' position and where they're at and what they might be doing. Second thing we look at is we do look at the eyes, even though they can't kill you. They definitely are what they use, the windows to their soul, to identify what they might have to do strategically and tactically to get close to you. So we look at eyes, we look at hands, and then third, we look at direction of travel. Are they on a beeline towards you, with their eyes locked on you, with their hands clenched? Those 3 indicators should put you all the way up into the color code mental awareness red. I'm ready for the fight. Because at that point in time, you probably haven't had enough time to break contact or to start moving out. If you're smart, first thing you do is you start angling out, getting out of that area, getting off where you are, long ways away, keeping your eye on the threat. If direction of travel is kind of taking a passive, appearingly passive direction at a 45-degree angle off you, as an example, yet their eyes are locked on you, it might tell you they're trying to flank you or get around the sides of you or behind you. Now I know what you're thinking. Sounds like we're paranoid, right? Just a little bit. Because when we put these things all together with experience in our lives, we realize that predators attack based on lateral vision, eyes that are side by side, hands that are being used to manipulate weapons or aggressiveness to grab you or to strike you. We realize that direction of travel is relative to whether they can close on me quickly or not. And how much time do I have to get away if they do start moving on me, and how fast are they moving? What's their tempo? What's their aggression level? What's their tempo? So eyes, hands, and direction of travel are 3 of the key indicators. The last thing in this segment I wanted to talk about is, in my lifetime, I have learned to realize that these people that attack others have just no respect for the outcome for you. They just don't care. They don't have, for the most part, compassion or empathy for you. They're not going to give you quarter, which means give you a break. They're going to smash you until they get what they want. And sometimes they think it's funny. So if you have the ability to flip the switch to get this done, you're going to see that throughout this DVD where we flip the switch and we go very fast and very rapid. It doesn't mean we're angry, but it means we've decided to commit to the fight. You have to find that in your space. And as we wrap this segment up, I'm going to teach you and I'm going to help you, not like I'm the Dalai Lama, but because I've found a way to do this. And you don't have to get really angry to do it. You have to realize 2 things. Where is my value system and where is my moral code? Is somebody putting hands on me enough for me to strike a nerve center, push them away and get away? Or is that too hard for me because my moral code says I won't hit another human being? Is somebody taking my child, my mate, and hurting them or putting a gun to their head or a knife to their throat enough for me to strike them down? Or is that against my moral code? And I can't answer that question for you, but I would like it if you would. As you watch these DVDs, consider where your line is, where your moral code is, and find that place that flips the switch for you to do just enough to get away and survive another day. The defensive system. What is it? Where does it come from? And how do we apply it? Well, as we've talked before, there's 3 levels of learning there's 3 ways that we learn. We see, we hear, and we do. So this is something you can actually do in your space where you live or where you work and practice this. Now, it's going to be very simple, and you're probably going to kind of go, well, it can't be valid if it's simple. It is, because it's simple. And under stress, remember, simple is the only thing that works with large muscle movements, large motor skills. They're called gross motor movements. Fine motor skills are fingertips and toes, and those are the things that diminish under pressure and stress. So the system is simple. We get our feet a little further than shoulder width here. Very, very basic. And remember, we talked about in volume 1 the simple posture that we take, which is, hey, how are you today? Good, good. You're in a public setting, you see an argument, or you're talking to somebody. It can be very friendly. This is a simple stance. Now, the reason this happens this way is because the system is broken down into a couple core fundamentals. First, it comes from the center. It's all right here. It's also tight into the body. From here, we're just going to touch the elbow. From here, we can come in, or we could just come this way. It doesn't really matter. Touch the elbow. Now, what am I doing here? And as I do this, I bring my hands out. I can bring my hands out here. All I'm doing is simply bringing my hand up, and one's going down. Very simple. You Kung Fu people out there will recognize some of the Kung Fu parts of this. Now, as I rotate my torso a little bit, I see that I'm able to kind of do this little dance maybe. And that is a simple technique for learning how to move your arms tight to the body. Very simple, very simple. I'm turning my hands out because I'm going to grab and manipulate the object in front of me, which might be a person, might be a weapon, could be anything. Simple from here, simple from here. As I do that, I can turn my torso this way. As I do that, I put this hand out here, allows me again to block or grab. It also creates a bump right here, muscle comes out, and that muscle is used for blocking. With the same system, all I have to do is kind of come low here. Just going to come low here. Kind of come low here again. These are blocks now, simple blocking techniques. Again, I can move my torso. As I come down here, I end up in that block we talk about. Come down here, I can also come right here. Push block, punch block with my palm. Very, very simple system, and you're going to see that everything that we do, for the most part, with a few exceptions, is going to come from the core of the body, a simple stance from right here. The next segment in this system is going to be shown again in what's called the Pequot here on this DVD. But I want to show it to you how simple it is. Let's combine this simple deal right here with a simple 180-degree step back, or a simple, in this case, I'm right here, a 180-degree step forward. As I do that, I either close or I create space. And both are equally important in fighting in a close quarters environment. The system is simple. Don't dismiss it because of its simplicity. It all comes from the center of the body, and it all starts from here. As we begin this volume 2 of Defensive Tactics, Techniques, I want to thank you again, Mike, for being here.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your involvement. We're going to do some very specific techniques that are highly probable to be the ones that you'll meet on the street. The very first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to talk about a technique that was developed in England in World War II. It's a commando technique. It was so effective that the commandos that used it would use this normally in lieu of their knife or their handgun or their rifle because it was so quick and fast to apply. Anybody from any age can do this technique, and it's simple to learn. I'm going to explain it first, and then we're going to do it very rapidly. Remember, you have a DVD there or some media that you can rewind and watch it again and again and maybe even slow it down. You're the attacker, Mike. If I decide at this point in time, we've talked, we've walked, I've blocked, it's time to fight, I'm in a corner, I have nowhere else to go. That's the mindset that we have. Get away first and fight as a last resort. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to attack above your shoulders or below your waist. I'm going to attack from here to here, and I'm going to strike you at different angles. I can use elbows. I can use from here to here karate chops. It doesn't matter where I hit him on the body as long as it's above the shoulders and it's from here to here. From the lower extremities, as I go below the waist, I'm going to strike from my knee to my toe, and I'm going to strike anywhere from below your waist. I'm going to kick at angles. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to achieve here, here's the goal. The goal, big letters in your mind, is a head over heels response. Just like in volume 1, we talk about breaking center of alignment. If I get your head over heels this way, or I get your head over heels this way, I win the fight because now I can break contact and evade. In the commando world of World War II, they would finish the guy at that point in time, kill him. That is not what this is about. This is about breaking contact, and we're doing just enough to drive him off balance so that we can get away. There is only one thing you can do wrong in this technique. That's kind of a comforting thing, especially when stress attacks the brain and you're like, what do I do? The only thing you can do wrong in this technique is not to move forward when you're doing it. This technique does not work effectively in a static position, striking. I have to move through Mike as I hit him for the center of the force and the momentum to carry you and push you off your feet regardless of my size. So Mike, I'd like to try this technique with the dummy and not you, because you cannot do this technique with another human being. It will hurt them and potentially kill them. So as our dummy is here, we don't have the water in the base because I want you to see exactly how hard this guy flies when we hit him. I'm just going to walk and I'm going to loosely, casually hit from here to here above the shoulders. So watch what happens. If you don't mind, Mike, picking him up, please, sir. Reset him. And again, I'm going to come from a different direction now. Ready? Here I go. Again, it doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't have to look really gorgeous. It has to be applied above the shoulders from here to here to produce a head over heel response. Here's one of the finishing moves in this technique. This is how to finish it. So say you're striking, you're moving towards him, you corkscrew as you step. You corkscrew him with the palm, as we talked about in volume 1. The commando technique is a valid technique. It was so popular that the British commandos would use this again in lieu of their firearm, their knife, in World War II. It came about because the billionaires were afraid that they were going to lose their fortunes in World War II. This was used, unfortunately, and fortunately for the free world, to kill a lot of enemy. It can be used to defend yourself in the last resort, should you be cornered. This technique is very dangerous. I exercise caution if you decide to use it, and make sure you do it only under the supervision of a professional self-defense instructor. This technique is done by manipulating the jaw or the neck and the lower back. If Mike is my assailant and I step to the side right here, the technique is applied by my hands out like this. I'm going to hit him in the hip right here above the belt line, and I'm going to hit him in the jaw or the neck, and I'm going to do it rapidly. Okay, now what that does is it breaks the center of balance. Are you okay, brother?
I'm fine.
Good.
Yeah.
It breaks the center of balance and causes him to go in the fish technique, head over heels. In the commando technique, head over heels. Just like this. They meet in the middle and you follow all the way through to apply the technique. That is the official neck and hip manipulation to drop somebody to the ground so you can break contact. The technique is the fish technique. Where the head goes, the tail will follow. We're going to show one specific one on this. Basically what happens is I grab him by the back of the head, I grab him by the chin. As I do that, I rotate this rear leg backwards. So on the wide angle of this, you will see my foot manipulate backwards, this foot stay planted, and you'll see him go to the ground. You okay?
I'm fine.
Good. Remember, respect when you train is key. And remember, this is a very dangerous technique because you're manipulating the neck. Again, the technique is from here. We're not going to do it all the way. From here, I bring this foot back, and he automatically has to go down or he will suffer structural damage right here. The Pekua. It's a martial arts technique in order to generate space or to close in on somebody. The Pekua I used for years in full contact fighting. Basically what it means is I spin right here in 180 degrees. It might mean from here, I actually spin into you right here. That is the Pekua. The Pekua can be used in a bodyguard technique as you extend right here, or a self-defense technique. I rotate that rear foot back. And I throw him to the ground. Are you okay?
Yep.
Good. So the Pekua is simply a 180 degree step forward or step back, pivoting on a foot that's grounded to the ground. This defensive tactic is the ladder technique or the defensive crawl. Basically what happens is Mike strikes towards me at quarter speed with his hand. I manipulate him by pushing him down, and I push him from the palm to the elbow. I push him down and I climb his body. And as I climb his body, I bring in elbows. So again, quarter speed or half speed. The first one missed, the second one didn't. Again, full speed. That's why it's effective, because as I crawl on this guy all the way up his body in this position, it doesn't matter if I miss the first one. And then I'm striking him, bringing in part of the commando technique. The crawl or the ladder is one of the most powerful defensive techniques you can apply to somebody who's attacking you. As we talked about in principles and introduction in volume 1, the step leg jam brings in a few of them to play. One of them is joint manipulation, and the other one is a jamming technique. So if Mike's a little bit further back and I'm in my defensive posture, as you'll see in volume 1, like this, and he takes a step with that rear leg towards me, all I have to do is extend it right there. As he goes off balance, I can then get into the commando technique of moving forward and striking above the shoulders, just enough to get him completely off balance in order for me to break contact. Mikey is the attacker. He's on this side of the line. If he grabs me, it doesn't matter what he does. If he tries to strike at me, we'll have a different way to deal with that. But go ahead and grab me, Mike. You love grabbing with both hands normally, don't you? He's a very aggressive physical guy, loves to get close. From here, I've got a couple options. I can manipulate, when we talk about face striking, whether it's a finger strike to the eyes, a loose finger strike, or I put them under the orbits and push back, it produces the off balance response, which is what we want. So finger striking could be here. It could be a nose strike, kind of rough, or I can actually take the thumb and put it under the bridge of the nose where there's a nerve and look at that response. It's very, very direct. As that happens, I then apply the Pekua from here and I push the hand. So I'm applying a couple of different things that we showed earlier. He hates this, by the way. You could tell. I'm sorry, Mike. So from here, I just Pekua back, 180 degrees. I have control of the wrist. I don't need to maintain it because I don't want to beat him. I want to run. When we produce the head over heels response, however we apply it, it is enough time based on the principle of the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, and act, which gives you about a half a second to 3 seconds to get away. That's the desired response, and that's why we do it. I'm moving through a crowd. I see a threat. Step back 1 step, please. Mike steps towards me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to step into him. I'm going to jam, and I'm going to extend my hand right here, and then I'm going to do a full Pekua, or a half Pekua, excuse me. And that might mean I step into him, but it also might mean I step back the way I came. As I do that, I roll this arm into his neck, and I produce a head over heels response. Let's do it full speed. So just step into me. Okay. Mike tried to maintain his center of balance. He tried to stay up on his feet, but it's not possible because once we get the head over heels and I bring that leg back, I'm using science and the principle of head over heels and fish technique, where the head goes, the tail will follow. He goes to the ground. A little too easy that time because he's a nice guy. Thank you, Mike. That is the spear hand, take him to the ground, combined with the Pekua. Belt grab from the front. Go ahead, Mike, grab it hard. Okay, nice. You can go inside the belt too. Go on the inside. Go inside the pant. Grab me like that. Now that I don't like. Couple things I can do. I can change levels. Come down here. As I come down, I can come up right here. As that happens, I can manipulate him right here by striking straight down at an angle, kind of a blocking technique combined with a little ninjutsu, whatever you want to call it. So as I change levels, I create an opportunity to then change levels with my hand and go up. That's one technique. The other technique I have is simply to take both hands, push them right here, and push down on him. That brings him to me. From here, I got eye manipulation, face manipulation, the nose again. I can knee him in the groin. I can hook his leg, sweep him to the ground. You okay? Yeah. Tuck that chin when we go. Those are some of the fundamentals you have with the front belt. One of my favorites, though, is from here, is to roll on the outside of him. As you do that, to pop this elbow. As you pop the elbow, it puts him in an off-balance position, gives you just enough chance to get off the X, or where you last were, and laterally escape. The belt grab from the back. I'm not sure about you or you guys out there, but I don't like being grabbed from the back at all. It kind of gets me a little freaky. So what do you do if somebody grabs you from the belt behind? I'll extend my belt to him. He's grabbing inside the pants. It's a control position. It's one that I've used.
to manipulate somebody and drive them to the ground. Because from here, all he has to do is bring his hand up to my head, his other hand, push it behind my head, and he could drive me to the ground. He's doing the head over heels on me. How I defeat it is I have to lower my center of gravity. With my elbow right here, I'm going to strike the nerve center right on this arm. Did that hurt? Are you okay?
Felt it.
One more time. So I'm going to rotate here. I'm going to strike right there. If I don't get the release I need, I do a full rotation and I strike again. So we're going to do it full speed, full escape. Hold on, don't let me go. Okay. I screamed a little bit. That is the old UDA principle, to let him know. Get him off balance a little bit and to release power, because I need power to get out of that. Changing levels, turning in a Pekwa, 180 spin, using from here to here to strike an area that is soft, hard to soft. Mike, again, I want to say thank you for being here and for putting up with this. This is not easy to do, to be manipulated, thrown around. It's very, very challenging, especially when you're as capable as Mike. I would literally hate to fight Mike in a real fight. I'd have to use a rifle and be on a roof 300 yards away. He's a tough man. This is the elbow grab. Why is it dangerous? Let me show you why I think it's dangerous. If I reach across and I grab this or I grab the wrist, I'm going to spin him around here like that. For this purpose, I might want to come in and sneak in a rear naked choke. I might want to grab him on this elbow and spin him this way and just lock him up. That is a very dangerous place for somebody to grab you. Be alert and aware if somebody touches you. That is a level of aggression, in my opinion, where my line is, that is beyond kindness or appropriate. So the elbow grab right here can be designed to spin somebody. Look at, I don't even move into my position, or I then can take advantage of them. Either way, it's not a fun or a positive experience. So as Mike grabs my elbow, go ahead and grab my elbow, he decides to grab me across. The main thing I always want to do is bring both hands in tight right here. I can lock them or I can pray. It doesn't matter, I can do this. Yay, go team. From here, I defeat his ability to do that, especially as I turn into him, pivoting on one foot, I just turn into him. What happens is, as we turn around for the camera here, as I come to here, I lock him, joint manipulation, and I begin to break his very tight grip on my elbow. If I want fine motor skills, I can come in and just change my levels now and do joint manipulation on him. At this point in time, if I push on him, off balance, the fight is over and I'm safe. This is a technique that most of you have probably been involved in at one time or another in your life on the playground, and hopefully not in a public setting as an adult. Go ahead and put me in a front headlock, Mike. The front headlock right here, cinch it up, Mike. Okay, this is a really dangerous position to be in because he's choking me. What I have to do is I have to turn my face into his body to create space. If I turn it this way, I turn into the meaty part of his arm and produce a choking response on my blood right here. And my air begins to get cut off, which is my trachea. So as I turn my face into his body, I can then hit him in the crotch right here. As I hit him in the crotch, I get just enough release right here to put my hand on top of him and push out. As I push out, I now have him in this position. All I have to do is rotate it in, push him with my hips, and I escape the threat. It's a front headlock escape. It's one method. There are others. Another method to get out of the front headlock is this one right here. As he cinches me up, remember again, I turn my head into him, which creates space for me to breathe. As that happens, I had come up over the top right here and push on his face and pull the wrist. As I do both of these at the same time, I get a break. As I get a break, I can put my thumb up underneath the nerve center right here, or both underneath the tongue, and I can push it until he wants to go back. He will really personally, individually want to go that direction. And that's why it's an effective break. So one more time for me. Cinch it up, cinch it up. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Getting out of a front headlock, another method. Getting out of a rear headlock. Go ahead, Mike, put me in the headlock. Again, in the headlock positions, as they crank it, the worst thing you could do is turn that way. You want to turn your head into this direction. I have a couple options here. My favorite is to first strike the crotch area or grab it and pull down. Strike underneath the testicles and grab it and pull down. As that happens, you change levels up or down. As you do that, you come to here. You find the nose and you peel it back. As you peel it back, you put claw out. The way you do it fast is from here. You okay? Yeah. Getting out of a headlock or traditional schoolyard headlock, good way to do it. Fighting off multiple attackers. It's a tough thing to do. It's a hard thing to do, but it's unfortunately a common thing that has to be done. Come on in here, Brian. You got Brian with us? Go ahead and stand next to Mike. So I got these two guys that are potentially assaulting me. Again, this is probably happening in a closet environment, very tight in a parking lot between cars. They might have me wedged. If they do or they don't, the principle involved in this defensive technique is more important than the tactic. First choice, and this is a real world scenario for me when I was in high school, would be to turn and go that way and run. I outran him and I won. I broke contact. If you can't do that, and he decides to grab you, which is also realistic, this did happen, and I did get away from it. Go ahead and grab me with that hand just so the camera can see it. From here, I can put him in front of Brian, push him into Brian, and that gives me an opportunity to make my escape. Without going wazoo and making this a third-degree black belt program, it's very important you understand the principle of aligning the bad guy between his mate. Now, if they're set up like this, that might mean I come to the head and push him into him like that. Just enough time crossing him so that I can get away and break contact. In multiple attackers, line them up. That's the key. This defensive tactic is a full Nelson, another common technique and a control position. Go ahead and put me in the full Nelson, Mike. Now, the traditional way to get out of a full Nelson is to drop your center of gravity. The problem is guys that are good at putting it on like Mike is, don't allow you to do that. Then you have to bring your hands, join to the top of his hands, find fingers, split them. As you split them and you pull the fingers using joint manipulation and changing levels, I then step out to the side from here and I strike, push, and break contact. Getting out of a full Nelson is simple in that you lower your center of gravity, change levels, peel his hands, step out, strike, push, and run. If you're in a corner and somebody's got you pressed, in a corner or on a wall, it's the same technique. Basically, you might go ahead and push me against the wall. It could be a choke. It could be, let's do a choke up here. It doesn't really matter. Now, I'm off balance a little bit. Push into me. Really push into me. He's got me. If I change levels, I apply the choke even further. If I go higher, it helps. So if I get a little higher, this is good. The benefit of having somebody choke you like this is that to get out of it, I can take his joints right here and pull him in, and it breaks him down. As that happens, I can step into him and corkscrew his head with my palm, and now I have a beeline to escape. That's one technique we'll do at full speed. Ready, go ahead, go. Okay? Bringing the elbow up as you push him and corkscrew him is going to be critical. Now, this is probably a big guy technique, so how do you do it if you're a small person? Come on in here, do it again. You bring your hands up into the middle. You push them to his face, and you drive forward into a circle, out of danger, until you get a beeline, and then you go. That is how you get out of a corner with a big guy, whether you're big or small. We have Brandy, who's our Vice President of Media and Communications and Women's Self-Defense DVD, that applies that technique on me very successfully. The wall attack. Very common technique. Could be up against a car, could be up against a building, could be just a regular wall. So Mike pushes me up against the wall, maybe with one hand, and he's going to strike me with the other. He's got it up in the punch position. One of the first things I want to do in this is I want to bring my blocking up. You can do both hands or one hand. Since the threat is coming above here, I want to keep my hands above the attack. That's a traditional principle, where my hands are above the weapon or above the attack. It allows me to have leverage. If I lower my center of gravity, that might work. If I raise it, it might work, it might help. In this case, when he has one arm, he's tensioned up against me. Where's your weakness right here, Mike?
If I lose my balance, it's right
if he loses his balance. So I can apply a Hapkido move here by grabbing hand on top of hand, pinning peeling palm or pinky and turning him and jamming him that direction or into the wall. That is one way to get out of this. Now, lean on me hard. Okay, one more time. Lean on me hard. Get ready to punch. Okay? The wall can actually end up being your friend. Another way to get out of this, if you don't have the strength or the technique and you're scared, is to go ahead and apply a nerve center and a joint manipulation at the same time. It'll be done by both hands coming up into the fear position, but one on the outside instead of both on the inside. Similar to this. From up here, I'm going to come up high, and I'm going to strike down with both hands onto that nerve center and the joint. As that happens, I'm going to come in with both hands and push his jaw and break contact from him by sending him that way and letting me go this way. The wall attack, a couple simple escapes. Wrist grab, wrist manipulation. Big aggressive guy. You feel that?
I feel it.
Okay, I'm making him aggressive so he can attack me correctly. Grab my wrist, Mike. Now check it out. We talked about that whole system thing we got going on. Watch what happens when I just bring that system into play. Look at what happens to his joints in his body. See that? Really simple. Do you feel the hyperextension here? Now what happens if I introduce the step forward with this foot? I just actually step into him. Now look what happens. If we switch directions here, for sake of the camera, he grabs me right here. I come up into this position right here. I step into him right here. All I have to do at this point is bring this hand up and roll him down. And as I roll him down, I have the ability now to break it or to push him and to break contact. It's a very, very simple technique. But we're going to teach you one that's even easier than that. And it's universal because in most martial arts, it's like if you grab me here, I have to do this. If you grab me the other hand, this side, okay, now I have to think, what do I do? Do I do this again? Well, that kind of works a little bit, doesn't it? Or do I have to come here? Well, that works also. And again, it's all coming from the center of the body. But the universal way to remember what to do is to put both hands together, regardless of where he grabs you. So I'm going to have you step right here, and I'm going to be right here so the camera can see what's happening with my hands as you grab me. Grab me any way you want, however you want. Is that how you want to do it? Okay. So we bring our hands together in this position. Now I've already got a release right here, which is good, but if I want to get a little more power, I can lock my fingers together. And as I rotate my hands right here, really aggressively, I can then get away, grab me as hard as you can. Okay? I still get away from him. He has a tendency to want to grab me again. So now at this point in time, I've lowered my levels. I can now step into him with that half 180 Paqua technique. And I can, where can I strike him with? You can see it already, can't you? I can move into here and strike him, push him, break contact. Or from here, I can just step in one foot, grab his foot, I'm on his foot right now, and strike straight up to the face, hit him with the palm, push him, and break contact. If I want to get wazoo from here, are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay. I can come in here and I can grab him just on the instep, or with my instep in the leg, and I'm pushing him right here, breaking the center of balance. It's a simple technique, but it all starts grabbing, circling, doing whatever is needed in alignment breaking, joint manipulation to break contact. We should normally do this one last, but we're not. It's the collar grab. So as he grabs my collar, one or two hands, he likes to do the two hand, I noticed quite a bit. One of the things to remember is that I have the ability by just swinging my arms straight over my head like this to get out of this. Now I can get out of it by using part of the Paqua at 180, which is just stepping into him right here, and that's it. I can bring it in and combine here, and I can strike him in the face, or I can extend from here now and manipulate him back and break his center of balance. That's one of the techniques I have the option to. If I do the same thing, and I actually want to come over here and strike really hard into that area, I collapse him in like this, then I come up to the face right here, then I push him. I'm doing it all with one arm. It's very, very simple. Another technique to get out of this is very, very simple, is you can come from the top, from here, and again, break him down right into this area right here where there's nerves. As that happens, I join my hands together, and I push his face back, driving him back. If I want, I can then apply the commando technique, start driving above the shoulders from here to here, end the fight. Another technique you have with the double hand grab or the single hand grab from here is to bring your hands inside here, like this. This is a fine motor skill, not as easy to remember. It doesn't matter which way, but you link them like this. From here, I go high, then I come into here, and I hit him. Then I continue to hit him as I step into him with the elbows, push him, break contact. Double hand grab, single hand grab. manipulating his weight, his angles, his joints, simple escape method. Front choke escape method. Go ahead and put your hands on my throat, on my shoulders, and your thumbs right in here. Okay, there's a couple ways to deal with this. First of all, the danger with him doing this to me, and I know this is a very popular technique, it's unfortunate it happens way too much in our society, but from here my hands are free. While my hands are free, he's got a real problem because I can manipulate everything on his face and everything around his body that's tender. The only thing I really want to worry about though is face. I want to worry about eyes and I want to worry about his air. The way I break this though is I can come straight up over my head right here. As that happens, then I bring my elbows down and now I'm ready to strike. I get to pick eyes, nerve centers in here, or just a straight palm strike, extending my arm to throw him off balance like that. Very simple technique. We'll do it full speed. Ready? Go. You okay?
Yeah.
And notice I didn't even move my position right here. I didn't move into him. I didn't have to, which helps me create more space because I really want to go that way. The rear arm choke, escape. Single arm choke to the neck. If it's applied with this part of the body right here, it's very painful and can produce an unconscious response. Go ahead and get me in that position, Mike. Ugh. I already feel it on the trachea. It's not affecting the blood, but it's affecting the trachea. One of the first things I have to do is I have to pull and create space. And I have to turn into the elbow joint. If I turn this way, I'm actually going to letting him have the narrow part of his wrist into my blood, which will produce an unconscious response in just about 8 to 10 seconds. As I come into here, it gives me a little bit of space. It also allows me, as I change levels right here, and I step behind, and I strike to the groin, or I strike to the femoral artery, right here with the elbow, to step out underneath it. Now from here, I can lock and manipulate, or I can push and go, which is my desired choice. The rear naked choke, one of the most dangerous positions you could ever be put in. It's like an anaconda or a huge python being wrapped around your neck and squeezing until you go unconscious. You only have about 8 to 10 seconds to be unconscious. You only have about 30 seconds of breathing before you're dead, 30 to 45, if this is maintained. Very difficult and dangerous thing to do. From a training perspective, please do not apply this unless it's under the supervision of a professional self-defense instructor. The way we get out of this is very simple. Mike's going to apply it to me. What I'm going to do, as he brings it in, he's going to set it in a minute. I'm actually going to step behind him right here, lower my base, lower my level, and then this elbow is going to come in right to that femoral artery as hard as possible. And as I do that for a second, it even tightens up the grip he has on my neck. Before I go down, I'm going to pull and put my chin into that pocket. But that does not work very well. So we'll give it a go. Go ahead and cinch it, Mike. When you're ready, I'll go.
Get ready.
You okay?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this or not, but Mike was actually putting his hand over the femoral artery, preventing me from striking it. Is that because it's painful?
I think it was just a natural reaction. Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah, but it did produce a release, which I needed to be able to breathe and then eventually escape. Bear hug, rear grab. Mike's going to go ahead and put his hands around me. Let's go ahead and take an angle right here. Okay, now he has a hard time getting his hands around me because I'm so freaking huge. All right, so the traditional way to get out of this, most of you wrestlers have seen it, is we lower our center. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
I hit his head with my back and my head. You lower your center of gravity, you bring your arms straight out. At this point in time, you have a release. But if you don't get it, and you end up in this position and he's got you, your hands come up right here, they grab a thumb right here, and they peel until you get the break. You can get either one. If you can't get the thumb and it doesn't work, you can start digging in to get the pinkies, and you can peel them both aside. As that happens, we step to the side right here. If preferably, we can get one leg behind him. We strike him in the groin. We join our hands. We come up to the face. And then, as we break his alignment here, we push him, and we get away. Simple technique to get out of a bear hug grab from the back. The front bear hug. There's two ways people will normally grab you. They'll grab you high or they'll grab you low. The high escape is done where he grabs me right here, and I go to the ground like this, put my arms out. Then I want to bring one into the testicles and grab it. The other one I want to come up through my chin, right through here, through the pocket, creating space, and go to those nerves, pulling the sack and pushing his face. We'll do it full speed. You okay? Good job. As he grabs me a little lower, it's a little bit different. From here, my hands are still free. That is not his friend. Because right here, I've got the nutsack with both hands. You hear him? Now, I've got my knees inside of his femoral artery. I'm going to spread those with my knees. I'm going to grab his nutsack, lower my base, get inside his femoral artery and spread them. And that puts pressure on two nerves in here. And that's one of the ways to escape if they go low. Bear hug from the front, big guy to big guy to little guy. Not as easy, but it can work as you change levels and attack nerves. The haymaker. Are we baling hay or are we making hay, Mike?
We're making hay.
Yeah, how are we going to make it?
We're gonna
Show
make-
these guys what a haymaker is, Mike. Go! Hit him harder. Okay, nice. He hit him so hard he fell off balance, which is not uncommon. Now, those of you who have been in a real fight, that's pretty realistic because it's not precision. It's like, "Rawr! I'm angry and I want to hit him." They clench their fist, they strike him. How do you defend against that? Let's roll this big 250-pound with a water base Bob away. He's 250 pounds fully loaded with water. And when Mike hit him, you need to watch that head, what happened to it. How do you defend against that? Do you close or do you exit? First choice for me, if you have time, you stay in yellow, is you see the aggression. You watch the eyes, the hands, the direction of travel. If he plants right in front of you like this, you're in trouble. I've seen this happen on the streets, have you?
I have.
Have you seen people get cold cocked, knocked out,
I have.
or just knocked down?
I've seen him knocked out.
I've seen them knocked out silly with this too in high school. And it's very, very dangerous. There's YouTube videos out there that show this. So how do you deal with it? We deal with it, haymake, quarter speed, go. Okay? This is the defensive posture for the haymaker. It's what we talk about in our system, which is bringing it to the middle, go. Okay? Now, if I'm further away from him and he does the haymaker, go. It's a little less effective because I'm so far away. So what happens is go. I have to step into him right here. As I step into him, I'm on the inside. It's not where we really want to be, but it's where I am. So the first thing you need to do with a haymaker is you need to jam him. Secondly, you need to generate a block. And so I'm doing it, I'm coming in, blocking, boom. I'm inside to him right now. Now I've got a lot of options here. First thing I want to do is I probably want to bring that down. What that does is it breaks his alignment. You see him starting to shift. Now at this point in time, I've got elbows. I can come up to an elbow. I can strike him. I can manipulate his nose now. I have his nose right here. I can knee him in the groin and I can push him away. And I've dealt with it. Everything I just did are fine motor skills with a little bit of gross motor movement in there. So again, he goes haymake, half speed. I step in right here. I strike him here. I lower the arm. He wants to move his head because he doesn't want me to do this. Doesn't matter what knee. I can strike him in the groin and I have his head. Fish technique, head over heels, and he's done. But I have to be close to do this. And it does take technique. It does take some strength. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
And remember, all the nerves, the nose, everything's right here. Groin, boom, boom, push him and get away. Striking, striking, striking. Critical component to get a head over heels response on somebody. This dummy is 250 pounds with water in the base. He does not move easily. So as we manipulate him here with these strikes, realize it's a 250-pound dummy that does not stay in this position. He comes back. We're going to work with some fundamental simple things here. In our stance, which is right here in the center of the body, in this position, I'm ready to do the corkscrew, which is the palm strike, elbow up. And basically what happens is, just like that. I come up here, I strike to the side of the head. Boom. If I step with this foot in a 180 degrees into him, I actually knock him to the ground. 250 pounds. Now I'm 275, 270. So does that matter when you strike? Absolutely. It has an impact. It's a direct correlation. Some people say it's not how big the dog is, it's how big the fight in the dog is. I would say this. If the dog is big and the fight in the dog is big, you got a big problem. So it does have a bearing on it. But the technique, if done by a smaller person, is very effective. John, come on in. John, you're about 170, 70? Mm-hmm. So John will do the technique. Standing right in front of him in the position, strike, step in. Okay, game over. So as you saw with John, thank you so much, brother.
You got it.
Didn't matter size, 180 pounds, same result. Another strike from here, from this position, is straight to the face. Doesn't matter if I get it really well, but I want to strike right to the face. Fingers out, doesn't matter, palm, I don't care. I can't remember all that in a fight. I just know if I do this and extend my hand, keep this hand in here, I have the opportunity to break contact now because I broke his center of alignment. Simple strikes. Other techniques in the striking zone. He's coming to your party. This is where you want him to be if you want to hit him. You got elbow from back here. Simple technique, the elbow comes up. Strike. Now if I step into that again, same result. Boom! Right here. He goes to the ground. Stepping in with that 180 foot, pivoting into him, is part of the commando technique and very, very brutal and will knock him completely off his feet, most likely putting him on the ground. And that's what we want. We want to get away. Notice that all my strikes so far have happened above the shoulders. None of them have been into the body. I have kicked and punched people on the street to defend myself in the solar plexus where you can't tighten it up, all throughout the ribs. I've broken ribs in fighting and training in martial arts on people in sparring. That does stop them. But it's hard to know if you're going to break the ribs, and you normally need to strike more than once. The head is the fish technique. Where the head goes, the tail will follow. As we strike it, we break the alignment. Gives us that second or two, the OODA principle, observe, orient, decide, and act. He's kind of thinking, what do I do now? I'd like to get my balance back. I can't attack this guy anymore. That's what he's thinking. And while he's thinking that, the OODA principle, I'm out of dodge. Simple other strikes that we have in this position right here. You have from here the traditional jab, the right cross, the uppercut, the hook. Those are all great to use in this space. And they're really simple. The jab is just a lazy punch with your hands like this, but I prefer fingers and palm to the face strike. It's a lot simpler. From there, instead of the roundhouse, which we normally do, or excuse me, the hook, leg would be a roundhouse, I prefer to do the corkscrew like this. So I go boom, boom, like that. And if I move the leg into him again, I knock him completely silly. Simple, simple strikes that can be done from the center of the base in this position to help you to get away. Kicking strikes, kicking techniques. No, we're not going to roundhouse him to the head. Could, not going to do it. Takes too much potential on losing your center of alignment. Very dangerous technique because you're on one stick when you're doing it. So we want to minimize the amount of time our leg is up in the air on a kick, and that's the key, which means all of our kicks, for the most part, will be below the waist or below the chest area, the nipple area on the body. We want the rib cage, we want the pelvic area, the inside of the thighs, the outside of the thighs, even the calves. Very painful when you kick them. But the money and the jewels in kicking is the groin, the inside of the thighs here, where the nerve centers are and the arteries are, and there's veins in here, and it's extremely painful, as you see in some of these DVDs as we're getting out of rear naked chokes. The three kicks I want to show you, there's actually four, but they're really three, but one of them I'm going to deliver the knee. This is the delivery vehicle right here. It's the hip flexors, it's the glutes, it's the butt, it's a little bit of the torso, because as I turn my shoulders in my kicks, that generates power. For example, in a roundhouse kick, which is nothing more than turning my body into him this way, center into the body, and I swing this leg with this right here becomes the hammer. This is the delivery vehicle, and this is where the power comes from up here. So watch what happens. Okay? Now I bent my leg, I didn't extend it, 250-pound dummy, full of water. If I extend my leg, I get more power. The problem with that, and it's personal preference, is that it's harder for me to get on my base again. So watch what happens when I bend it. And I hit him with my shin. Turning my hips and my shoulders. Sets me up for a strike and a move in and a corkscrew. If I want to modify the roundhouse and not use my foot, delivery part on the foot, by the way, it could be the toes. Don't prefer it unless you have hard toe shoes. But it's the instep. From here, the knee, to the tip of the toes, just like that. That's how I deliver it. Bam. Rib cage, floating ribs is a good target area. That's what we're after. It helps you to create space. Kicks are great for space creation. If I want to modify that, just use the knee. Watch the power of the knee. This is the delivery vehicle. This is the striking point. This is the target area from the armpit down to the waist. Again. Again. Watch what happens. Rotating shoulders, getting the hips into it. Traditional Muay Thai. I'm in my defensive posture. I grab him by the neck. I pull his head in. Now, I jam, straighten my leg, coming up into it, pulling him in the whole time. I can work left, I can work right. Woo! Other kicks we have, 2. First one, front snap kick. One of my favorites. Very good defensive kick regardless of what size you are. The front kick, snap kick, is delivered from the solar plexus all the way down to the crotch. It's done like this. From this defensive posture right here, we just literally bring our foot up and our knee, we snap the heel or the toe into this area. It's good to create space. It's probably the most powerful part of it. When I pull my hands in. Now I'll do the heel. The beauty of this kick is, again, even if you're small, your legs are powerful. Next, we're going to use Mike. Mike's like, wait a minute. So, applying a side kick to a guy like this is really, from here, going to be kind of right to from the pelvic area of the waist all the way down to the knee. We're going to put it into the thigh. And we're going to do that as a defensive measure, keeping one hand up just to get him back. As he works that one, I'll hit him both. As he goes down, he's susceptible to striking. No matter what, he's lost the center of balance. As he goes down, stay in the down position. I can push him a little bit further, breaking his center of balance again, knocking him hopefully to the ground. It's a defensive measure. Traditional side kicks can be done to the body. Are you okay? I hit him in the solar plexus a little bit. Did you see his response? He collapsed. You can't tighten that up. So traditional side kick, the solar plexus, takes some advanced training. Not likely something you're going to pull out unless you've done it for years. This is the full mount. This is a tough place to be. This is not the UFC, boys and girls. This is a fight gone bad. You've both gone to the ground. It's very likely to happen. We're going to show you 3 things to deal with. We're going to show you the full mount. He's on me. Then we're going to show you he's choking me. Then we're going to show you that he has pinned my arms down like in the schoolyard, like my brother used to do in the backyard of my house. How do you get out of that? Are there options to get out of it? Size does matter in this. You have a weighty person on you. It's going to be harder to do these techniques, period. Sorry that there's no golden key to the conflict. Staying away from it is your best bet. But if you're in it, here's a couple options that you have. Full weight on me, Mike. So Mike's there, okay? Were you ready for that?
No.
Okay, weight, full weight on me. Now Mike can sit high in traditional jiu-jitsu, knees are up in the armpits, but he doesn't have to do that. This is what he chose. From here, what are you gonna do to me? You're gonna pummel me, right? You're just gonna pummel me probably. Okay, so if you can't get him off you, first thing you wanna do is you wanna defend. Secondly, I straighten my legs. I can grab his crotch, which I did not do on the last technique, but I did grab your shirt with both hands. As I did that, I bucked my hips and I threw him forward. It's physics. There's nothing he can do to prevent that if I have the strength and the technique to do it. The other option I have, full weight, is to hook this foot right here. Now females, I teach this to, I've taught it to my girls. And from here, as I hook the foot, and I push his knee and I rotate my hips, do you see what happens to him? I push this knee, and I hook the foot, and I bring it in, and I do hip movement. I'm gonna do it really fast now, okay? Okay, at that point in time, I spin out. So from here, I'm spinning to my hips, being flat on the ground. Now who's on top? I am. It's where I want to be to escape. Next technique. Thank you, buddy. Mike's in full mount again. Okay, Mike has his hands on my neck. He's choking me out. Here's the problem for Mike. No pressure yet.
Sorry.
The problem for Mike is my hands are free. I'm telling you, he's heavy. He's taking the wind out of me. From here, I can break him down right here. Breaks the choke. What's exposed now? He's gonna like in this part. Nerves are exposed right here. Nose is exposed. All of that. And I can still, at this point when I break him down, do the things I showed before, which is to spin out, put pressure on the knee, hook the foot, and rotate out. The other option I have is still to buck. But what I want to do first is get out of the choke. So that's one way to get out of it. The other way to get out of the choke, simply bring the hands through the middle. Bring the elbows out. Now, all the juicy bits right in front of me again. So, now, last technique. He's pinned my arms with his knees. Is your knees way up there? This is, where's the camera? This is very, very painful and effective. Go ahead and pin my arms down. Okay? The way to get out of this technique is I still have my hips available. So I can actually start to rotate my hips right here, swing this hand down, back to here, grab the foot, and spin into him. Because he's so high on me, one more time, it allows me to use all my leverage on my hips.
Right.
Go ahead, pin it. So I bring the hand down, and I rotate my hips. I like to grab the throat. The fight is over, hopefully. 3 simple techniques to get out of a full mount, choke, or arms pinned, brother in the schoolyard, whatever. Make sure to use hip rotations, hip movement. Make sure to break his center alignment, leverage his weight if it's high. If he's back, you have to consider that. But do those seem effective to you, brother?
They are. They get you off.
Yeah?
They get you out.
Okay, good. Be safe out there, folks. And try not to get in this position. It's just not a fun one to be in. Mike's gonna mount me on the back. He's knocked me to the ground. He's gonna get on my back, and I'm gonna show you how to get out of it. It's really a tough technique to do, but it's very possible. If your wrestlers out there, you're gonna get your base, and Mike knows what that means. Your base is bringing your body, your hands and your feet inside. So this is what the technique looks like. From here, he's got you. So what we're gonna try to do is come into our base. From here, and I'm gonna grab the wrist. I'm gonna put my head on the outside of it, and I'm gonna torque him down on the ground, and I'm gonna lay on it. As I lay on it, I'm gonna take joints. I'm gonna manipulate them in here. This is a strength and a technique move. It is not easy, but it is one way to get out of somebody on your back. Show it one more time. Okay, so he's on me, whether he's choking me from the back, go ahead and choke, whatever. It doesn't matter. I gotta get my base. I gotta get my base, and as I get my base, fortunately that time, he rolled off of me. If he's choking you from back here, remember to try to turn your face into the pocket to relieve the pressure and then to get your base and maintain control of that wrist. As you do that, you're able to get him off balance just enough so you can do hip movements and get away. Bicycle kicks, a defensive technique when you're on the ground defending somebody who's above you, not on the ground with you yet. Mike, if you'll take position on the ground in a defensive posture. Not likely that Mike might try this, but he might because he's going to probably be on top of you, pummeling you. But this is a good technique for you to try to get to your feet. So what happens here is I'm coming to him. Mike has an option to use his thighs and his calves and his feet, which are some of the bigger muscles and muscle groups of the body. and bring your legs up into a bicycle like you're riding a bike, and just, that's it. You're just gonna wheel that thing until you stop him. Now, some of the points of aim for him are the knees right here, to hyperextend this knee and push it, lock it. That's one of the techniques, is you start at the legs, you work your all the way up. Now my center of alignment has been affected. I'm coming down, what happens? You bicycle kick the crap out of that guy's face and head, doing the fish technique. Head goes, tail will follow. That's to keep him off of you. After you break this guy, you now have to take your feet and you have to flip them like that, which produces your hips rotating downwards and allows you to escape. Extend that foot further out. Now, the wider your base, now you're going to roll your shoulders into that base, and you're going to pop up. Exactly. That's the fastest way to get up. So what I want Mike to do is I want Mike to do the bicycle kick furiously until I say stop, but don't hit me, because you can't practice this one on somebody, unfortunately. Go. Boom, 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 boom. Escape. Nice job. And notice how when Mike got up, he turned himself into me. He put his hands into the center position, and he's ready to deal with the attacker until he can break contact. Great job, Mike. We appreciate you watching Defensive Tactics Techniques. Thank you, Mike, for giving it up today.
You're welcome.
It's a hard thing he did today, to be manipulated. He probably walking out of here with a few sore muscles and some achy spots, and I'm very grateful for you giving up for these fine people. We want to remind you to stay in the color code of mental awareness yellow. Be aware wherever you are. As you make your plan and you go to orange and you end up in maybe red, which is ready for the fight, we want to encourage you, if you have to fight, to strike decisively, without hesitation, and very, very quickly. Use those things in order for you to create space and escape to live another day. Thanks again, Mike.
You're welcome. Had fun.